Hey guys, it's me, EODGamerZ here, and in this video, I'll be teaching you how to clear the boss in two parts. One, build, and secondly, we'll go on to the boss mechanics. The most important thing about this boss is the build guide, and let's jump into it. We don't waste any time on this channel. The keyword, most important thing, straight up for you, right? Lightning resistance as high as you can go. If you have low resistances, because when you go into a new act, they minus it. If you have minus 10 lightning resistance, you're probably getting one hit KO'd. And as I did, of course, because I'm a squishy ranger as well. If you bump this up, he will scratch you like peanuts. He'll poke you with toothpicks with all his spells. Get your lightning resistance up very easily. I'll teach you how you can get it very quickly. One is using the topaz charms that you got, maybe in Act 1 if you picked it up, otherwise if you've gotten it along the way. This is not the most critical, but this is a form of lightning resistance as well. Otherwise, you can get them through topaz rings. Topaz rings here, you can see I'm wearing a double topaz rings. This gives me a massive 62% lightning resistance and is the best and most efficient way to get lightning resistance if you can. However, I know some of you do not have the luck. If you notice here, I'm actually level 35 versus the boss is like level 32. One thing that I want you to do if you are looking to farm gear, you want to try your luck, go and run through the Dreadnought Vanguard as well as the Dreadnought. Go and run through the entire map and you will have a chance of getting a topaz ring. I tried it once or twice and I think I dropped one or two, at least some of the rings along the way. So farming it, getting a little bit ahead, getting more stats is really good, especially if you don't have topaz rings. That's my recommendation and how I actually got to 35 and also managed to get some nice rings. The other alternative, if you do not have lightning resistance, you're thinking of how to get it, is you can socket stuff. Now, this is another tip that I have for you. If you haven't gotten sockets, how do you actually get sockets? Is through this gem over here. If I go into the stash, you can see that there is this item called the Artificer's Orb. When you click on it, and you right click and you click on a boot that you are currently using, it gives you a socket. Then you can use a rune to infuse in it to immediately bump up your lightning resistance. For example, here you can see in my guild stash, we have quite a good number of storm runes as well. I can take it, I can slap it on. If you are really looking for it, you can even socket multiple armor pieces. You slap on this Artificer's Orb, as well as putting on the storm resistance. You can see the armor here is 12% lightning resistance. Then you will easily get a lot of this. One quick way, in case you do not have Artificer's Orb that I want to recommend to you, is you can actually use the Salvage Bench. When you click on the Salvage Bench and you remove one of the sockets, you actually get one shard. 10 shards basically gets you one of those socket orbs that can help you add a socket. One huge tip that I have as well, now that we're on it, is go to Act 1, and this is a massive tip to get them very fast. Go to Act 1 Clearfield Encampment and go into the merchant over here because you can find very cheap one. Talk to Renly, buy or sell items, and sometimes you will see that he will sell some socketed items. Unfortunately today, he's not selling anything for me, but these are very cheap. You can get a socketed item here for like 170. You use the bench to crunch it down, and then you'll be able to get it really well as well. For those of you who are looking for where do you get this salvage bench, is in one of the earlier quests where there was a blacksmith as well, some Renly tools. You can go and find that quest so that you can unlock the salvage bench for yourself. Now that we talked about builds and everything, I'm just going to be showing you what are the gear that I'm using for. I'm using basically a level 28 weapon together with some armor, focusing mainly on my class evasion and anywhere that I can find lightning resistance. Note that my main tree doesn't even have lightning res. Only like my gloves. I won't even mind like sacrificing some of my better stats and using a poorer gear just to get that lightning rest up. Most of it is actually coming from my boots and rings, and that is how the build is. I'll be releasing a ranger guide shortly, but let's go into the boss mechanics, which I think is also quite important. Part 2 on mechanics. Now the most important thing is, if you notice the flying swords in the air that slam into the ground, my biggest tip for you is to watch the animations carefully. The moment you see the flying swords appearing, move to the side. If not, it can actually kill you, especially in this demonstration here where I'm doing it on very low resistances. Especially I understand some of you might not be able to find the resistances that we talked about in part 1 as well. So just keep dodge rolling, and I would actually focus on dodging his abilities rather than DPSing. These ones where the lightning swords are flying towards you are quite easy because they're quite slow. He does have a much faster one, and that is why part 1 is really very essential for you to handle it. Now, the next thing that is a bit tricky is the windstorm that will appear, and in order to counter the windstorm, it's very easy. you will just stand behind the NPC that is forming the shield and you will take no damage. If not, it can be quite lethal. Note that enemy will spawn monsters non-stop, so try to like basic attack and try to clear the monsters out of the way. Save yourself some resources as well. After that, the animation will end. He will get kind of like stunned a little bit. But now that we've talked about the basic mechanics, I want to show you the difference that part 1 really makes in this part 3 section here after my resistances have been taken up much higher. So as you can see, I even took a full damage of that crash, and normally it would have killed me, but actually it didn't really do so much damage. The thing that actually hurts is the spikes, which I can simply just dodge roll out of the way, but I'm not really taking a lot of damage from the things that kill a lot of people if they don't follow the guides. As you can see, I just took the full damage over there and it basically scratched my health. I made sure I had the numbers on the side so you can see like, how much damage is being done when you are at a 70% resistance. So at this point, it's just simply running around and I'm just avoiding the traps that he has. He shoots darts at me, which are really the thing that is doing the most damage here. And again, hiding in the shelter so that I don't get damaged. This is very important because I didn't test it out whether lightning resistance reduces this one, but I think it's more or less a lot of damage as well, part of the boss mechanics. But it's very simple. Anyway, there's nothing else you can do. Just stand in here, wait for the thing to end, clear the small mobs that spawn along the way, and now DPS the boss down. He has a phase 2, so try your best to hit him as quickly as he can. This is the harder one where the lightning rod chases you very quickly. I find that this is really difficult to do even as a ranger class who have much more movement speed. If you do not have lightning resistances, this is probably the one that kills you, especially if you have memorized a lot of the other mechanics. So once you hit him roughly to around like 60% HP, he goes into this immune phase that you can no longer touch him, and now you'll go into the desert, which don't worry, I know you guys are a bit stressed out. Phase 2, this is going to be so stressful. There's going to be a new part. And as you can see here, I have just some charges of my health valve that like restores and life over time charges. If you can find those, it's great. But in this desert mode, this is super easy, especially if you have followed the tips in our part 1 talking about build guide. He does some slapping things that is a lot of damage, but the main problems and all these like shards that he throws on you on the ground are really very easily mitigated by a lot of move dodging. You can just like potion it up. All the other traps that he has, which are lightning, are really very low damage. Part 2 is way easier, so don't really feel too stressed about it. As you can see, I'm just running, kiting him. Even for a melee roll, it's going to be much more pleasant, especially when you have those resistances up in order to do your DPS windows. I'm hardly at risk of dying. He puts down a lot of lightning traps, but it's not really very significant for me. So just DPS, dodge, run. And I even run through the traps right here just to show you how confident I am with the lightning resistances that we have. He summons a lot of like spark balls and hits in range, but I don't think it's as hard as the first phase. He does get stunned quite a bit. From what I heard, for those of you who are still struggling even with all these tips, some people are running in a party with a lot of stunners and he can be actually stunned very easily to oblivion, especially if you run like multiple parties and stuff. You have a bit of resistances to survive and this boss is quite easy to handle. Most of his animations are very slow. If you handle like part 1, these are actually like super straightforward to do already, because all his attacks are very slow cast time. You can actually see the bullets flying and there's a lot of space on the map to actually like move around or even like dodge roll behind him because his animations and swing time are really very slow. But that is pretty much this boss. If you found this video helpful and insightful, do give me a like, comment and subscribe for more such future content. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Appreciate your attention and click on these 2 videos which I think you might like as well. See you in the next video.